Hello everyone, welcome to another video from MingPixels. I'm Ray. In this video, I'm gonna show you how to build a minimum but well-functional home studio to start learning portrait photography using Flash in a studio environment. This video is one that I hope I had watched when I started out, because I wasted a lot of time and money buying the wrong gears. So if you do not want to waste the money like I did, keep watching. So to build a minimum home studio, I have 3 rules. 1. Affordability. The gears mentioned in this video will be affordable. Some gears may seem a little bit expensive, but in terms of what they can do and their future uses in your photography journey, they are well worth it. Which brings to my second rule, convenience. The gears should be easy to use and should make your work easier. This is very important because if the gears are very clumsy to use, then you will waste a lot of time getting your setup ready and you will get frustrated very quickly. 3. Expandability and reusability. The gears you purchase should be able to be expanded upon and have its use in future when you have grown up, become a better photographer. What I mean is, the things you buy now should meet both your current and future needs. You can add things to them to build a more comprehensive, a better system, but you do not necessarily have to replace them or upgrade them. For example, let's say you have a flash now. In the future, you may want to add a more powerful one. But your current light can also be used in a, let's say, a multi-lighting setup or in a running and gunning situation. Each gear has its own purpose. Do not make the mistake of buying cheap, low-quality ones and ending up wasting money replacing them in the future. Okay, now we have set some ground rules. Let's talk about the gears we need to build a minimum home studio for Flash portrait photography. Camera and lenses. You do not need fancy cameras and should start with what you have right now. Lighting is more important here, but I will share some basic ideas of what cameras to use. Since we're shooting Flash, so you need a camera with the Flash hot shoe on it. It doesn't matter if your camera is a DSLR or a mirrorless with a big sensor or with a tiny sensor. As long as it has a hot shoe on it, it will work. Lenses. Because there are so many different camera systems in terms of sensor size, like full frame, APS-C, micro four thirds, 1-inch sensor, etc. The description or the meaning of the focal length are different. I will talk about lenses in full frame term and put the focal length conversion on screen. So what lenses do you need? The answer is that most lenses will do, and the chances are that you already have one. The key of choosing a lens to shoot portrait in studio is that your lens should be at least covering the focal length of 50mm. What that means is, if you're using zoom lenses, the 50mm should be within the zoom range. Fortunately, most of the kit lenses that come with cameras cover the 50mm focal length. You may ask, what is a kit lens? A kit lens is a lens that is always sold together with the camera in a bundle or in a kit. If you're using full frame cameras, you probably have kit zoom lenses of a 28 to 75mm or 24 to 105mm. And if you're using APS-C cameras, kit lenses are more like 18 to 55 or 16 to 55. And what about longer zoom lenses, like 70 to 200? Yes, it is true that a lot of photographers use long zoom lenses in studio, but they have big and long studios. Since you're just starting out, I assume most people will only have rooms like this, a bit small, and if you're using long zooms, you don't have the space to compose correctly. And if you're using prime lenses, I strongly recommend you to start with 50mm first, and then you can try out other focal lenses like the 85mm or even 35. The key here is, if you already have a camera and a lens, start with what you have. You do not need to buy fancy gears at the beginning. But also make sure when you are purchasing any new gear, you think about expandability and reusability. Do not buy something that only because it is cheap and you will end up selling or changing systems down the road. Now we have a camera and a lens, let's move on to lighting. For shooting flash in studio, you will need at least one flash, some flash modifiers and some stands to support them, and some kind of backdrops and a stool to pose your model. Let's start with the light first. The first light I highly recommend you to buy is the Godox 8200 flashlight. It is small, portable, and very powerful. The power of the light is good enough for you to make stunning photos in a home studio. And the best feature of this light is that it comes with two light heads in the box, a bare flash bulb and a Fresnel flash head. For studio use, I use the bare bulb a lot because it spreads the light in all directions and it makes it much easier to use different kinds of light modifiers that are made for studio strobes. And the Fresnel head, on the other hand, gives a light pattern that is more focused, and you can use modifiers made for regular flashes with them. And both heads have its own purpose, and I will make a video in the future on how and when to use which. So stay tuned for future videos. Oh, by the time I'm making this video, Godox has released a third head for its 8200. It is a round flash head and you have to purchase it separately. That round head is really good and I will make a video on it too. But what you need right now is just the two heads that come with the flash in the box. And Godox also released a pro version of the 8200, a bit more expensive, but if you can afford it, go for it. But the regular 8200 is good enough for what it is. Now we have the light and we need a remote trigger to control it. The reason we need a trigger is, one, for flash photography, you really need to use off-camera flash most of the time. Off-camera flash means you're not using flash when with it directly mounted on the camera. The main reason for using off-camera flashes is it will provide better lighting and more lighting setups. 2. The Godox 8200 doesn't have a connector like normal flashes that you can directly attach to your camera. You have to use a remote trigger to control it. Now, I have to pause and explain a little bit about flash systems. Like cameras, there are also different flash brands, and each brand has their own flash system with different models of flashes, triggers, and modifiers. And most of the time, the products of a brand only work with products of the same brand, and different systems don't always work with each other. For example, you can use a Godox trigger to control a Profoto strobe or vice versa. To make it more complicated, each product, especially triggers, may have different versions that are made for different camera systems. So now you have a Godox flash, the 8200, and you need to buy a trigger made by Godox. And you also need to make sure the version of the trigger is for your camera brand. There are currently 3 Godox flash triggers on the market right now, the X1T, X2T, and X Pro. I recommend you go either the X2T or X Pro, and again, you need to pick the right version for your camera brand. Godox uses different letters to indicate the camera system. X Pro F means for Fujifilm, X Pro S for Sony, you get the idea. Now we have a light and a trigger to control the light, and let's talk about light modifiers. The beauty of flash photography is that you gotta create your own light. You can make it soft, hard, wide or focus, brighter or dimmer, and you can even change the color of the light. There are endless possibilities, but you can't do it without light modifiers. The first light modifier I recommend you to buy for your home studio is a Hexagon softbox. There are some different varieties of this kind of softbox with different names. Some of them are called Rapid Box Beauty Dish or Octabox or Deep Parabolic Softbox. I do not want to go to the details of the differences of them to make this a 4-hour long video, but the ones I recommend you to buy should have the following qualities. A round-shaped softbox, not a square one. I found round ones are more versatile to begin with. The size should be between 30-inch to 40-inch, which are not too big or too small and covers most lighting needs from headshot to half body or even full body. The inner material can be either silver or white. I prefer silver because it will give you stronger lights. The softbox should come with a grid, or at least you have the option to add a grid later on. Trust me, sooner or later you will need to use a grid, and if you find that there is no way you can get one for your softbox, you have to waste the money to buy a new softbox that has it. Lastly, and most importantly, the softbox must have a Bowens mount. Yes, you heard it right. Softboxes have their different mounting systems like cameras so that your life can be more complicated and miserable. There are many different mounting systems. I recommend you go with Bowens mount because most of these affordable softboxes and strobes use Bowens mount, which I will talk about very soon. I think a softbox that meets the specification I just mentioned is all you need to start with. But still, you probably need to do some research on softboxes to understand what I just said. I will definitely make a video about how to choose softboxes, but for the sake of simplicity, just buy something cheap from Amazon, like this one on screen. I have linked to different options down below, and you can just choose the one that you can afford and with good reviews. Okay, we have nailed the softbox, sort of, but wait a second, how do we attach it to the 8200? Remember that I just mentioned that the softbox should have a Bowens mount? Many studio strobes have a Bowens bracket installed on it, like the Godox 8600 Pro, but our 8200 doesn't have one, and you have to buy something called S-bracket to attach the softbox to your 8200. The way it works is that you insert the light into the bracket and then attach the softbox using the Bowens mount. Again, the link of the S-bracket is down below. Alright, now we need a light stand to hold our light and softbox. I highly recommend you to buy a stainless steel one because they're strong and steady. Don't buy those cheap aluminum ones because they're not strong enough for your light with modifiers attached. And in the future, you may want to use even bigger and heavier lights, and you want to make sure your stand can be used with them. And I have some recommendations down in the links below. You can check them out. The next thing you want to add for your home studio lighting is a reflector and a stand to hold it, because you start with only one light. A reflector is a cost-effective way to help you bounce the light to make some fill light onto your subject. There are many cheap 5-in-1 reflectors on Amazon, and some are round and some are triangle. I recommend you go for the round ones for studio use, and because most of us will not have an assistant to hold the reflector for us, and you also need to get a stand and an arm to hold it. Do not save money by sparing the stand. Please buy it, because it makes your life much easier. Okay, we have 2 more items left for our home studio. Let's go with the easy one, the stool. There's not much to say about the stool, and you can buy some beautiful fancy stool and they will make the photo look better. But for me, I started with a very cheap stool from IKEA, which works great, and you can even adjust the height of it. Now, the last thing we need is a backdrop. You can get away with a white wall, but a proper backdrop will make your photo look much better. And eventually, you will need to work with backdrops anyway. There are so many different backdrops in terms of material, and they can be made of paper, cloth, or even vinyl. And of course, backdrops have different sizes too, and many of the backdrops sold online are not really friendly to beginners. Some are cheap but wrinkles a lot, and some are too expensive, hard to transport, breaks easily, and you need to buy stands and crossbars to hold it, and they take up a lot of space. The backdrops I recommend you to buy first are those collapsible ones with the size of 5x7 or bigger. They take seconds to set up, and they are made of cloth, but they are stretched when opened up, so there's no wrinkle issue. When not in use, you can fold them into its case, easy for transportation or storage. And you can take it anywhere with you. I took these backdrops to my client's home, a company, or schools for a photo shoot. All of these backdrops have two sides with different colors or patterns, and they look really good on photos. So what color should you go first? I would say get one with the gray side on it first. Either it is a gray on one side, black or white on the other side, but make sure you have one side that is gray. The reason is a gray color backdrop is the most versatile backdrop you can have. Using different lighting techniques, you can make the gray backdrop appear black, white, or even different colors. Also, the gray color gives you a lot of possibilities in post on Photoshop. You can add texture, patterns, or colors onto the gray backdrop in post. If you can only buy one backdrop, get the gray one. The backdrop I have is made by Savage. Its one side is dark gray and the other side is light gray. And I bought it in a kit that includes a stand. I highly recommend you to buy the backdrop with the stand. The stand has a small clamp that can hold the backdrop, and if you can't afford the stand, then leaning the backdrop against a wall will work at the beginning, but again, it's not convenient. The backdrops made by Savage are not cheap, but they are of great quality. There are also some good cheap alternatives on Amazon, and I found most of them have good reviews, so you can just buy whatever you can afford. I have put the links of these backdrops down below. And if your budget allows, I also encourage you to buy one more backdrop besides the gray one. Choose something with color or patterns that you like the most as your second backdrop. The one I have here is also made by Savage, and it has the color name of Monsoon. On one side, it is this dreamy, abstract, subtle pattern, and on the other side has a more pronounced purple texture. I use this backdrop a lot and really love the photos taken with it. Of course, you can buy whatever color you like the most, but just don't buy too many of them. Okay, now that's everything you need to build a minimum home studio for flash photography. And sure, the gears I mentioned are not necessarily the best or comprehensive. And I'm sure other photographers may have different opinions. But remember, this video is for newbies, not for seasoned professional photographers. And what I have done here in this video was provide a simple solution to get you started without wasting a lot of time or money. And the gears I mentioned in this video are the ones that I would buy if I started all over again. And the best part is these gears are affordable, convenient, and can be expanded upon and are still valuable when you grow as a photographer. Okay, that's everything for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you like it, consider subscribing and give it a like, and I will see you the next time. Bye.